Hi everybody. Sorry about my ranting, raging video earlier. It was just insane what I was seeing today. I'm gonna bring it back home. I know everyone's been going through these moments of like panic 1 minute and then like it's okay and acceptance the next minute. And so in my first couple of videos, I kept talking about the urge to not want to find comfort um in what seems solid. We're accepting the fact that our economy is collapsing right now, and there's going to be a lot of urge to deny that it's happening or to try to fight it. And there's going to be a lot of urge to jump onto the next thing and say, that's okay, this is what's going to happen. We really don't know. We have to accept that this is going to be months of transition. We don't know what the end picture is going to look like right now. So the best thing we can do is take care of ourselves and be kind to other people and help everyone else transition. We're all going through the same thing. There are all kinds of levels of denialism going on. I had someone the other day, like, kind of putting out there, like, what if we had spent the last 5 years trying to make the most cleanest energy possible? We'd still be in this position and like really still gung-ho on this idea of holding on to oil. And I was kind of like, yeah, let's imagine, like, could you imagine if we did that? Like, wow, if we were already like 5 years ahead of where we have to be, we wouldn't have, we'd be in like back in 2015 climate change events. We wouldn't be in the 2020 extreme events we have. And maybe regenerative agriculture would have taken over. We'd have more carbon sequestering going on. We'd have all kinds of new industries in terms of like um, home construction materials that are sustainable. We wouldn't have heating bills. We wouldn't have electricity bills because all of our homes would be sustainable. We wouldn't have to pay taxes for water because we'd have rainwater harvesters. We wouldn't have to pay taxes for sewage because we'd have home biogas digesters. Like, could you imagine if you didn't have that weight on your chest of like all the things that we have to pay for now? Wouldn't that be so amazing? And all the new industries that would have taken off in the meantime? Yay. So there's kind of my way of looking at it, I guess, and then there's other ways of looking at it. So it is what it is. Everyone's on their own different path. But it's really, I didn't want to be harsh and critical on that person. I just wanted to put it out there of like, I could recognize he was still in a very big fear state, and that fear often is masked as anger, and a refusal to let go. And so that's okay. People are just gonna be there. It's also perfectly normal for scapegoating to exist and gaslighting. The narcissist and the scapegoat dynamic is actually a survival skill, and you'll find it in every culture across the planet. And it's something that we've actually been able to trace back. That's where the word scapegoat comes from, is we'd put all of our sins and stresses and illnesses, trinkets that represented all those things on a really strong goat. And then we would chase this goat off into the wilds, and this goat would have to endure all of our things. But it was a way of us not having to be accountable for it, for our actions or the responsibilities of our life, because we put all the responsibility on that goat, and we could go back to our herd and be happy and dance and not have to worry about it. And that poor lonely goat is out there on his own, stressed and scared, and is fighting the wilds on its own. And that creates what's called an insecure attachment to the world. So that person is always in a fight or flight response. So whether or not we don't actually have goats, we often pick a very strong or intelligent family member, and we make that person the scapegoat. And the reason we pick a strong one and not a weak person is because if you picked a weak person, you kept picking on them all the time, they're going to kill themselves, or they're just going to bow in and then constantly always try to appease you, right? A scapegoat is someone who can be like, wait a second, no, 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 and ends up becoming the outcast. And so that's kind of the dynamic that happens now in our culture and in society. So when you're not necessarily a scapegoat, but when you're a person who's kind of been on the outside, you tend to have a high anxiety because you're always looking for danger. And the evolutionary advantage to this with the whole herd is the herd is intentionally doing this because having someone, a sentinel, constantly being on the lookout, is what is a survive. It helps us survive. Likewise, the group of people who are in the herd who are like, what are you freaking out about? Relax, it's okay. Those people have actually developed really good self-soothing strategies, so they can calm themselves down really quickly. Whereas the people with the fight or flight response, aren't very good at doing that because they kind of need self-soothing all the time doesn't save them quite the same way that being vigilant and cautious does. So we kind of balance each other out, and then the really calm people are going, no, it's fine, don't worry about it, relax, go for a walk. It's We kind of do need those people in our society to keep us well grounded. But it's also our jobs to kind of be that person to say, get up, there's a fire coming, you have to move, go here, go there, because these people aren't thinking about that. They really are not thinking about what to do. And so when you look at any Hollywood movie, who's the hero? It's always the stoic loner, like lone wolf kind of outcast person who stays calm and rational and like knows what to do next. So this is like we see this in real life. So if you have friends and family that are telling you to calm down, thank them and do calm down. Have them help you do that. But at the same time, don't stop. Don't doubt yourself, and don't stop telling them to be vigilant and to stay very clean and to stay home and to self-isolate. So we kind of have to help each other through this, right? It's not, and so I'm trying to avoid this whole like, this person's an idiot or those people are sheep. Education is the best, and just try not to get into too much conflict with those people. Just really try to be kind and gentle and accept that they're going to come eventually. So that's them. This is us. Let's talk about things that we're going to do to protect ourselves. So the first one we keep talking about is don't go out. Just stay home. And I could go on, Alberta Health Services. You can check in with them on washing and all the recommendations and how long it lives or whatever. Come up with your own safety plan. If you want to talk to me about it later, we can, but I think there's enough of that out there. The next thing I keep talking about is garden and local food. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but on Facebook, if you go into the marketplace now, there's like a ton of local food. Local farmers are like accessible more than ever. So if you want an antibiotic-free, healthy, good, local raised, good for the environment, eco-friendly, regenerative eggs, something food, product, chicken eggs, I don't care. It's out there. There's tons of that stuff right now. So totally do it. I do recommend when you're buying meat products to make sure it is gone through a provincially inspected arbiter. The reason is because there's a lot of flipping in the livestock industry and you don't know what's been going on. So at least having that, arbiters are, it's not ideal, it's not perfect because they can't test for everything, but they know what to look for in terms of various diseases and things that can make you sick. And meat handling and like how to handle it properly. Go get some cash, man. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but the internet's kind of been slow lately. Duh, everyone's at home on Facebook streaming and watching YouTube. So try to download as much as you can so we can alleviate the network. It's unfortunate that a lot of the people on EI right now keep getting booted out. So those websites are secure, right? Same with your banking app, they're secure. And anytime there's a little a break in the connection, it boots you out. And it does that for a security reason. So it's really, really frustrating for people who are like trying to get on the internet on these secure websites to get financial aid, and it keeps kicking everyone out. And that's causing tons of panic anyways. So if everyone who's watching Netflix could please take it off your HD settings and download versus streaming, it's gonna reduce some of the lag time on our network. Okay, so yeah, have some cash, because if the bank apps go down, that happened to me today. I had to go to the doctor's office and I had to pay for something, and the e-transfers were not going through and the bank machines weren't working. So I had to come back later with cash. So go out, get a couple $100s in cash, just so too. And if you end up having to buy something, if you get sick and you're like throwing up and you can't feed your kids, there's tons of people right now who are doing like care packages where they'll put together like really good nutritious food for the sick parent, and then you can order like 3 or 4 meals for the rest of the family. So there's tons of that stuff. So having a bit of cash for those types of things are good, because if you do need to take advantage of a delivery service, have them leave it at the door. You want to pay ahead of time or watch them through the door, have them leave it there, pay electronically or leave the cash there for them. And then open the door once they're gone. Try not to do the face-to-face with people. My husband's at the door with some goats, so he can come on in. You can come in, Dan. So go pick a project. Today I started painting. I was scraping my door the other day. I've decided to paint it purple. I'm going to just be really inspiring to myself right now. So a nice bright purple door. Having a redundant project, even if it's just painting, is going to keep your body occupied and keep your mind occupied as well. And it gives you some kind of productivity instead of just sitting around all the time. So something even just as simple as that. But as I kind of talked a little bit before about like the changes that need to be made, look around your home and think, okay, how can I be more self-sufficient? What are systems in this house that just aren't functioning anymore? Whether it's rainwater harvesting systems. Oh my gosh, we all should have rainwater harvesting systems. If we had them all on our house, we wouldn't be having the floods that we've been having and overwhelming our drainage system the way that it has been. So think of Canmore or Calgary. Calmore especially is a recharge zone for the aquifer that feeds southern Alberta. And here we've covered it in tarmac and concrete. So this whole valley now is just sealed right up. So all the water that hits the mountains and hits this thing now runs and rushes into the drainage basin and floods Calgary. Likewise, Calgary does the same thing. Calgary is doing the exact same thing and then floods High River. So if we create systems where our lawns are catching our rainwater and our house roofs are holding it in tanks so that we can use it for hand washing or doing dishes or flushing toilets, like that's great water for that. It's also when there's a bunch of lobbyists right now that are pushing for like UV regulations. You don't need that stuff. You look at Australia, when you have a good rainwater harvesting system, none of that stuff matters. It creates its own natural biome, and it's very, very, very rare that when you have a good, well-installed system that you'll ever get sick from it. Anyways, it's a whole nother thing. But you can look at cob rocket mass heaters made out of cob that actually like retain heat, and they use like half of the amount of half the amount of fuel. Super efficient, almost no smoke because it double burns the smoke. So there's very little particulate matter coming out. It's like very, very clean burning. And then it creates this biomass that just heats and radiates your home all day. So you don't have to have your furnace kicking in constantly. Home biogas digesters are another amazing little thing that will like create natural gas. All of your waste, your compost, everything can go into this tank and it produces its own natural gas. And so you could be cooking like no heating bills. Could you imagine that? Cook your stove, like all that stuff. You can still do it. It's perfectly fine. It's perfectly safe. Like amazing systems, couple $100 to get them online. Like, what else is there? There's just so many things, like hempcrete, better insulation windows and building to the south. Like there's so many things we could do just in our designs to make our homes more sustainable. Half of this pandemic right now is people freaking out about paying bills. So could you imagine if you didn't have any bills? I don't have any bills. I'm totally off grid. So apart from my cell phone and my insurance and a bit of gas to get to town, I really don't have any expenses. So starting to transition to that kind of lifestyle, if we can alleviate the stress on our municipal resources, we don't have to pay near as much in taxes. So this is the kind of future I think we can start to get to. One that's eco-friendly, one that's way cheaper and much less stressful for us. So try not right now on that note, don't hoard, go out, like wait for the gardens and the local food systems and all that stuff. Try not to hoard as much as you can right now. I know it's very scary. Visualize what you want or organize a list or whatever. So maybe in a month from now, or you can start to go pick up a couple more items. But right now, some stores have been so picked over. It's causing its own self panic. Things are starting to replenish. The grocery stores are looking better, I've heard. So that's good, but try really hard not to hoard. So network like crazy. ER offices are about to get swamped. So if I had a friend the other day, her daughter needs some stitches taken out and she just said I don't want to go to the doctor. Who's out there that can help me? So start establishing these types of networks and take them offline too. Don't just have people on Facebook that you communicate. Actually physically write people's phone numbers down, because if the internet crashes and that was your only way of getting in a connection with your network, you're going to need a backup plan of how else to call them, get a hold of them. So whether it's a phone call or something like that. So yeah, really, really work on your network and communicate with people. Okay, I need someone to watch the kids this week because I got a bunch of work that I haven't been doing my work all week. I have to sit down and I need some hours to just get work done. Or can someone watch the kids this week because I got to go to the grocery store? Or who needs to go to the grocery store? I have some time to watch your kids. So try to network as much as you can and make sure you're being smart about it. Like kids without symptoms, people who haven't been taking their kids to public spaces. I know a lot of people have been doing that right now. So avoid networking with those kinds of people. And help each other out. Like, oh my God, just help each other out. Talk to some old people. old people have kind of been through all of it, and having that sage wisdom is really grounding and therapeutic. And a lot of old people are totally scared right now too. So some tips for talking to old people: don't talk too much about the pandemic. Don't talk about, like, you can talk about death. Death is fine, and I think a lot of old people have accepted that. So that's okay. But try to focus on a memory. Like, do you have a really good memory, or like a story you could kind of tell and talk to each other? Because the thing is, there's not much to talk about if you've been in your house and you're just going crazy. There's probably not many new events going on that are that interesting. So you can kind of have those types of discussions. Victory gardens. I talk to old people about victory gardens because, wow, they all remember when their moms and dads had victory gardens through World War II. So kind of sitting down and having those types of discussions. Learning their tricks of the trade. How did you ever have to preserve eggs? How did you guys preserve your cheese? Things like that. Start having those kinds of conversations, because so much of that wisdom is lost. And like, I'm always blown away at, like, when I talk to old people and they're like, oh, we just did this, or we just do that. It's like, wow, that's so cool. They have a lot still to teach us. So try to be mindful. Take some mindfulness moments when you're doing your dishes. Feel the warmth of the water. Feel the soap. Get mindful. Get present. Try not to think about. It's not like don't think about stuff. Think about what you're doing in the present moment, and that will naturally just take you out of the anxiety and the panic. So, what does this bed feel like? How does this chair? What does this fabric feel like? Getting into that feeling and feeling present is going to be so helpful. That's a really good skill to have in life in general. I tried, you could do visualization, you can close your eyes, you can do meditation. I try to do mindfulness with my eyes open and being conscious and aware, because then you're still fully engaged. And it's a good skill to have, like if you're in a job interview or who knows, right? Just getting mindful. And so then on that, as you're getting mindful, you can start to reflect a little bit about this world that we're living in. I hear from lots of people like, this isn't what I signed up for. This isn't what we came here to do. I feel like a slave. I'm living to working. There's so much of that. And I think on a level, we all know this isn't working. I think on a very true heartfelt level, we all know that this is time. This is time. Let's let it fall apart. It's got to collapse. And there's so much fear in that. And so just try to be calm about it and remember, like, actually everything we thought was solid wasn't. It really was not solid, and it had to crumble. So let's just let it. So really reflect. Are we slaves? Who do you want to be? Use this opportunity. Who have I always wanted to be? Like, what are things that I've always wanted to do? Did I want to be that person that gets up and does yoga in the morning, or goes for a run every morning, or meditates? Did I want to be? What's my vision of who I want to be? How do I want to be living my life? Am I actually living it exactly who I want to be? Or is there something else that I wanted? Did I always want to get into art and I haven't had time to do art? Is this even the career path that I want to do? Do I want to be a teacher? Like, what types of things do you wish you did more often? Maybe you want to meditate more. I don't know. Those are all things that I want to do that I hardly ever do. Or I guess I'm being harsh on myself, but I'm doing a lot of other things and I'm living my passion in other ways, but these are some new passions that I want to get into, and a crisis is a great way to do that. So financial aid is kind of another thing. Like, oh, wow, how stressful. There's tons of people who don't qualify and the rules are constantly changing. Just be patient with it. We got to give, like, bureaucracy is tough as it is, especially when it's collapsing and falling apart around us. So just give some patience to the whole system. As we saw, the internet was overwhelmed. They're going to be, I'm sure they'll update the criteria. I think the rules they're rolling out are a little like, there's some holes in there. I'm sure they'll get there. So if you haven't gotten financial aid yet, just be patient, take your time. And as we're talking about bureaucracy, hey, this is a really nice time to put pen to paper and write to your MLA and your MP. Whatever the topic is, there are so many things in Alberta right now to be angry about and to contact your MLA. So it's really important to organize yourself, even if it's just a quick letter and email to them, to just take 2 minutes for yourself. This is one thing that I would like to see more of. I'm not, whether it's the parks, whether it's our pensions being taken, whether it's the crap that's going on with the doctors and the nurses right now, the war room attack, like, we used to be in a place where I've worked for government, I've worked for oil and gas, and I've worked for environmental NGOs. I've kind of seen it all. And we always all worked together before, so I don't understand what the heck is going on right now with this division. I'd like to see solar come back. I'd like to see the tech initiatives come back. I don't know why, rebate programs for people getting on solar were cut. Like, that's silliness. That's just totally... Anyways, there's so much to write to your MLA about. And just keep trying to focus on your self-sufficiency. So while you're writing your MLA, you might as well throw a couple out to your municipality too. Unfortunately, all the initiatives for self-sufficiency, whether it's a tiny house, rainwater harvesters, all those other things that I talked about, municipalities don't have any codes to it, and they keep like trying to shut them all down. And it's like, this is what people want. This is how people want to live their lives. These are the solutions. These are the transitions. And so right now the codes and the permitting is just so, and so I'm just going to say, do the best you can with your county and keep being adamant about it. Talk to other people. Right now is the time to talk to other people who want these types of construction and building. And I'm going to just put this out here right now. The David Suzuki Blue Dot Tour was all about making clean air and water a right for every Canadian. Right now, you don't actually have a right to clean water. Mind blowing, right? We're in Canada and we don't have a right to clean water? Anyways, so this is really important that we have rainwater harvesting, because if they're creating restrictions around that, it's preventing us from getting water. We're depleting our aquifer and our ice caps are melting. Like, I'm not kidding you guys. And a water crisis is coming right around the corner. You didn't see the pandemic coming? Trust me, there's going to be a goddamn water crisis coming. So we need to start really having those conversations and getting water security addressed with our counties. So here's my thing. Network with other people. And I recommend everyone in a group of 70 of you or 50 of you, everyone put down 20 or $100 and call Eco Justice or environmental law firm or even just a regular lawyer and put a lawyer on retainer. And then go ahead and build whatever the heck it is you want to build, an earthship, a passive winterized greenhouse. I don't care. There's so many initiatives to build. Start building it, build it well, document how you've built it, research it, make sure it's going to be safe and not going to fall apart or catch on fire, all these things. By the way, every single system I mentioned so far is so much safer than the current standards of building that we have. Like, I'm not kidding you. Like, I never worry about my barn catching on fire with my cob rocket heater. But if I had a fire pit out there or a furnace, or red heat lamps, I would constantly be worrying about it catching on fire. But it's literally impossible to set my system on fire, which is great. Anyways, so as you get into that, be prepared, because if someone does start getting a ticket, I recommend everyone say, okay, that's it, and serve your municipality with a lawsuit, because they're taking away our right to sovereignty and they're taking away our right to self-sufficiency and our ability to provide for ourselves. And they're keeping us enslaved in a system where we have to live to work constantly. You shouldn't have to be weighted down. I sleep at night and I never worry about my power getting cut off. And I never, ever, ever worry about not being able to heat my home. Ever, because I'm on a self-sustainable system. It's not a thing for me. And I think most people, a lot of other people would have a lot of peace right now during this transition if they had systems like this in place. So take some time to think about that. I hope this was inspiring. As I have been going through this, I'm sure you've noticed there've been little clips on stuff. If you need more links or connections to stuff, I'm happy to put you in touch with other people who are all specialists on that. All right, bye.